sketch of negative 4 plus 5x. So remember, for straight line graphs, there are two main things that you're looking for each time. You're looking for the graph of the format y equals mx plus c. That enables you to identify the gradient and the y-intercept. Now, it may not be written in mx plus c form, it may be reversed for this one. So for this, you're looking at the features of it. So what can I tell about this graph, this particular straight line function? What two things can I tell about it, Ashley? On the y-axis, it crosses at negative 4, okay, and it has a gradient of 5. And a gradient of 5 is that uphill, downhill, steep uphill, what still? Uphill. Okay, so we know it crosses the y-axis at negative 4, and it's going uphill. So we have a look at this. Does this cross y-axis at negative 4? No. So it's not that or that. So if you did either of those two, you're nana. So give me one of these two. Which one has an uphill slope? C. Okay? That's the thought process that you need to go through. That was super similar to one of the ones in the upgraded test. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Okay. All of these are very similar. Straight line L has the equation below. Write down an equation of the line parallel to L which passes through the origin. Okay, so now some of you had an issue with the fact that it passed through the origin. Perhaps you didn't recall the word, what the origin meant. What do we mean when we use the word origin? Yeah, the middle of the graph. So that's coordinate 0, 0, yes? So if it's parallel to this line, the two features of it for this one is that it has a gradient of 3 and a y-intercept of negative 4. So if they're parallel lines, what do we know about them? They have the same gradient. So I know it's going to be y equals 3x plus something. Yes? But it goes through the origin. So what's our y-intercept going to be? 0. 0. So it's going to be y equals 3x. Not plus 0. If you wrote plus 0, I gave it to you. Be careful, it is a real thing. They may be harsh and not. Okay? If you had no recollection that it goes to the origin, you would substitute these two coordinates into here to find C. So you would say 0 equals 3 lots of 0 plus C. 0 equals 0. So hopefully you get that C was 0. But that's the method that you use for every kind of question. Next one. Find an equation. So each time you need to be careful what they're asking for. Find an equation of the straight line that passes through 0, 5 and is perpendicular to L. This time it's a perpendicular gradient. So what would the perpendicular gradients to this baby be? Negative 1/3. So we're looking for a gradient of negative 1/3. Why have we chosen negative 1/3, Alexis? It's a negative reciprocal. Yes, we look at 3, we flip it and change the sign. So we know it's going to start off with y equals negative 1/3 x plus something. Again, ideally, you're recognizing that they've given you 0, 5. So remember, when the first coordinate is 0, what does that tell you straight away? It actually tells you the y-intercept. Jess, do you remember that? Some people did straight away. But if not, again, you would just do what we did here. So we'd say 5 equals 1/3 multiplied by 0 plus c. A third multiplied by 0 is 0. So c is 5. So that means our equation is y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. Okay? That's another 4 marks. Excellent. The straight line L has the equation below. Find an equation of the straight line perpendicular which passes through negative 2, 3. So again, we identify the gradient of y-intercept. So the gradient of this one is 2. Y-intercept is negative 5. So if we want a perpendicular line, what's my gradient going to be? Judy? Negative reciprocal of 2, which would be? Pardon? 1/2. So our gradient is going to be -1/2. So we're going to have an equation y equals -1/2 x plus c. What do we do now, Layla? Good. So in this case, we would have
3 equals -1/2, and then times 2, -2 plus 2.
awesome. Now some people made an error. They wrote this, but they forgot that they're actually multiplying it. So they tried to add stuff. I think, I don't know, I don't remember. So we've got 3 equals -1/2 multiplied by -2. You had your calculators available to you if you're not confident with your multiplying. You've got 2 negatives multiplying together, so we know the value is going to be positive. You've got 2 lots of 1/2, which gives you 1. Your rearranging is sometimes letting you down here, peeps. So we are subtracting 1 from both sides, which means C is 2. So our equation is y equals -1/2 x plus 2. Okay? Now, some people may be feeling harsh if they've left out x's. You will lose the marks if you do that in the real exam. If it hasn't been seen anywhere especially, you've got to make sure that you're setting them out correctly. Okay? Depending on what working you've got, how many errors you've made. If you've got issues with your paper afterwards, you can have a look at them. Alright, so next one. A has coordinates for blah, B has coordinates for blah. The midpoint has coordinates x, y. Find the value of x. So this is an issue. Lots of people forgot how to find the midpoint. How can someone describe to me, you don't have to give me the formula, but just tell me how you find the midpoint. Natalia? Sure.
X2 plus x1 divided by 2 comma y2 minus y plus y1 over 2.
Okay, and remember that's in a bracket, ladies, it's a coordinate, yes? So we're adding our two x values and dividing that by 2. So we look at our two x values, one of them is 11 and one of them is 1. Remember, it doesn't matter which one is 2 and 1. So 11 plus 1 is, and divide that by 2, 6. So our value of x would be 6 because the x is representing just the x coordinate. Yeah? Okay. E, it says find an expression. The reason that we can only find an expression for y is because they've given it in terms of e. But we do the same method. So we're still going to have 7e plus 3e divided by 2. This is the key point here though. It says simplify your answer. Okay, so just leaving it like that is, excuse me, not enough. 7e plus 3e would be 10e. It's still divided by 2. Can we simplify that then? Yeah, to become 5e.
So it says find expression for y, and you just take the y's.
Here it says find the value of x. Maybe we could find the value of it because we had numbers. Here it says find an expression because we couldn't find a number because it was in terms of e. Okay, so what I want you to try and start doing is to I don't want to be patronising, but try and use some common sense when you're doing this, in that you're going to use the same method as you did here. It's just that you can't find the number, so you're not going to do something crazy different at ladies. So in some ways, just knowing that the process is going to be the same, but the fact that I've used the word expression, hopefully you kind of work that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because remember, we're finding the mean between the 2 points. Okay, so if you started here and gone here, halfway is going to be like the average between those two. Okay, that was the formula that we learned. Right, oh. Number 5, yes?
Yeah.
Alright, so the point 0, -1 and 4, 5 line of straight line. I've even drawn the picture for you. How beautiful. Find the gradients. So we're trying to find the rise and the run. An issue, no, not for this one. So rise and run. So you choose any 2 points. Doesn't matter which two you choose. You're trying to get from one coordinate to another. If you chose these two, that's fine. You're rising 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're running 1, 2, 3, 4. So your gradient is going to be 6 over 4. graph. Ideally, you simplify that to be 3 over 2, and you left as 1.5, which is also fine. Ideally. Now it says write down the equation of L. Well, we've established the gradient, so we know it's going to be y equals 3 over 2x plus something. Can we tell just by looking at the graph? Ideally, yes. It crosses the y-axis here at -1, so it's going to be y equals 3 over 2x minus 1. So if, were these questions way harder than the practice one?
Well, not
If you actually
Did you
realize
get them
there's
right?
a book on the graph, then yeah, it was kind of like.
Alright, so,
I just overthink it too much.
but, so this is the thing, ladies, sometimes it really is, and I know it's a lot of times it's test anxiety and you start panicking because this is now the proper test, it's graded and it's not an ungraded one, but you have to help yourselves out by taking the information that they're giving you from the diagram. If you hadn't spotted that, you have another option. They've told you the two coordinates. Again, ideally you're recognizing that the x coordinate is 0, this is going to be your y-intercept. But if not, you substitute these two values in, or you can substitute these two values in. Any of these methods will get you the right answer. Okay? Ideally you're going for the quickest option, but you've got lots of different options to use. Next one says find an equation of a line which is parallel to L and passes through this coordinate here. So again, parallel lines we know have same gradient, so we know it's going to be y equals 3 over 2x plus something. Here, if you got this gradient wrong, but you carried on using it, I gave you the carry through marks for these two. You should have got them if you didn't make a mistake. What you then do, you substitute in this value. You've got to be careful which one's x and y. So this is 0 equals 3 over 2 multiplied by -2. Okay, 3 over 2 multiplied by -2 is going to be -6 over 2. -6 over 2 is -3. What do we do to get C on its own? We have to add 3 to both sides. So C is 3. So our equation is going to be y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. Okay? Right, this stuff. Old stuff. Some people are still making mistakes on this, so we still need to make sure we're going back and working on these. Factorize means to do what to it? Well, when it's this kind of expression, what are we going to look like? It's quadratic, so it's going to have how many brackets? 2. So I've got 2 brackets. It's a nice just an x at the front, so it's just going to be x at the front of both of these. How do we decide what goes in the end? We need to have two numbers that multiply to give -48, and those same two numbers have to add to give +2, which are
-6 and 8.
There's lots of people shout that stuff at the same time. Okay, that was done pretty well. Just be aware of this. K over k minus 2, we're solving. That means that we're trying to find the value of k. So we have a fraction here. We don't like fractions. Let's try and get rid of it, which means multiplying both sides by k minus 2. So your first line of working would ideally be this. Okay? I've got brackets involved. I don't like brackets, so I'm going to expand them. You've got to remember that both terms in the bracket are multiplied by 3. I'm then going to make sure my k's are on the same side. I would probably move this k over, but I'll do either one. So we're going to subtract 3k from both sides. I end up with -2k equals -6.
Wait, so you do 3 minus 1?
Oh wait, okay, no, so if you did that, Emma, you would have 0 equals 2k.
But what did you do for that one? What did you do? What did you do? Minus 2.
I subtracted 3k from both sides.
So 3.
So 1 subtract 3 ends up as -2. So then k ends up being -6 divided by -2, which is +3. If you had done it this way, you would then add 6 to both sides, and again 6 divided by 2. Either way, you get k is 3. Okay? Simplify fully. Oh, people are still making mistakes on these. When you are adding fractions, algebraic ones especially, well no, any fraction, what do we have to have? Common denominator. When we are changing our fractions so that they have a common denominator, we have to multiply both the top and the bottom by that value, that expression. So this one I'm going to need to multiply both things by x minus 4. And this one I'm going to have to multiply both by x plus 2. That will give me a denominator for both of x plus 2, x minus 4. My numerator for this left-hand one would be x subtract 4. And on the right-hand side, if I do my expansion at the same time, I would have 8x plus 16. Okay, so I've done my expansion. If not, you would have 8 bracket x plus 2. I'm adding, so that's nicer than subtracting. Means I'm joining like terms now, so I've got x here plus another 8x. Oh, let me write my denominator. So x plus 8x gives me 9x, and negative 4 plus 16 gives me positive 12. If you had factorized the top, great.
Could you have done the bottom too?
You can make sign at the bottom as well, yeah. But in these kinds of questions, I would suggest it's more work than you need to do. You just may as well leave them as brackets. Okay? Especially if there's a slim chance that an error may be made, you're better off just leaving it as brackets. But I didn't deduct any marks. Simplify fully. We've got algebraic expressions top and bottom. In order to simplify, what do we have to do to them? We're going to do these expressions, the factorize. And again, these were nice straightforward ones. There were no big 2's anywhere or 3's. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give negative 36. And those same two numbers add to give negative 5, which are negative 9 and positive 4. What's special about the bottom? It is a difference of two squares, so what's going to go in my bracket?
X and 9.
Plus 9 and minus 9. So what happens now? So we're just left with x plus 4 over x plus 9. Okay?